This place of dreaming within my work really is the place that I find that I exist in most of the time. You know, it's just a sort of amazing state of mind. It is about dreaming for the audience, but I've got to be able to set up those parameters. What do I need to sort of put in place to allow you to dream? I'm based in Chicago. For me, it's an amazing place to be because I can focus. I can have the type of studio that I need. I can introduce a new project here, and there is a network of people that I know here that can help sort of inform and build my work. So it really becomes this interesting sort of laboratory for me. The first sound suit was in '92 in response to the Rodney King incident, the LA riots. I was sitting in the park one day and just sort of thinking about what does it feel like to be discarded, dismissed, profiled. There was this twig on the ground, and I looked at that twig as something discarded, and then I proceeded to just start collecting the twigs in the park. And I brought them all back to the studio, and then I started to build this sculpture.
I would watch this.
I started to realize that the moment I started to move in it, it made sound. Then it just literally put everything in perspective. I was building this suit of armor, something that I could shield myself from the world and society. And so out of that came this sculpture, performative kind of work. I think after the first sound suit, I had a different approach to art making, and I realized that I was an artist with a conscience. The moment I did was the moment that my life literally turned upside down.
Sit down and then refresh.
I think it's just me kind of experimenting. It's like, you know, a scientist exploring alternative ideas. How's it look? Oh my God, it looks amazing. I want it to be not necessarily something that is defined. You know, like with the sound suit, I don't draw any of them. If there's areas that are like bad, like put a yellow pen. Okay. I work hard, but I'm one single individual. It was just too much. And so I had to hire 3 full-time assistants. Now there's, 10 studio assistants that are regular full-time assistants. They're all artists, which is great.
I got just the end left. So just, maybe 2.5 square feet, so it's about 2 days. Should be done, Thursday, I think.
If I'm coming up with a new concept for a sound suit, I tend to always do the first one myself. It's very meditative for me. I can do it for hours on end. I just need a little bit more. It's all really based on one object that becomes the instigator. That's how Sound Suit is built. It's built on me sort of identifying an object and then me taking that object and relocating it on and around the body. And then that begins this sort of journey. metal flowers.
A lot of metal flowers.
We just did a road trip looking for materials for the body of work that I'm working on currently. Let's go back here. Look at all the silver. I need to start collecting that. I find that when it comes to looking for supplies for my work, I'm at the flea markets, the antique malls, looking for something that may spark a new direction.
There's a lot of ducks.
No ducks.
No ducks.
I don't have a list ever. I may not know how I'm going to use it right at the moment, but it all eventually sort of comes back around and enters the work at some point. I'm finding that I'm building work as we're antiquing right on the spot. I may build an entire piece because I will find X here, and then I'll say, okay, I need to find this to go with X. All of this kind of stuff is nostalgic. It's this place that we want to sort of remember. One day I just started buying these ceramic birds, but I bought them because in my upbringing, that was what was considered precious art. It was kept in this china cabinet. And that was my way of staying connected to my grandparents as they were getting older. And it was my way of honoring and sort of celebrating how they influenced my upbringing and my life. So part of the work is really about the sense of honor in this celebratory kind of way that the sound suits are fantastic, fantastical. I love the colors in this. I'm very much interested in being able to create these concepts that I can immerse myself in. Cranbrook Art Museum really became the core of this immersive experience. From that core were these satellite experiences that were built around performance activity.
More trotting, more personality, more character, yeah? More energy, more energy, more energy. There can never be enough energy.
One of the performances at Cranbrook was really working with the Detroit School of Arts, which is a public high school. I think dance has always been a real critical part of my practice. The sound suits are really broken up into two bodies of work. One is sculptural work, and that's sort of the static work that you see in the museums. And then there is this sort of performance sound suits. When producing a project of that scale, all of these components and parts and elements, it's like building a collage. I think by the end of the project, probably over 500 people were involved in some aspect of the performance. That's what we were interested in making happen in Detroit. How do we get people out of their communities and engaged with the arts? Trayvon Martin is a new work that was shown at Cranbrook. It's made up of a black man, again, dressed in a hoodie and sneakers and jeans, and then surrounding its body is these plastic blow molds, which are like, sometimes at Halloween, there are these plastic forms that are set out in yards. And so they are surrounding this sort of figure almost as guardians. But then over top of the entire structure is this web that's constructed out of pony beads. So from a distance, it looks like this amazing sort of gold sculptural form until you get up close and you realize that there is someone trapped inside. It's very, very disturbing what's going on right now politically within the Black community, not only Chicago, but around the country, what's going on with police brutality and these unarmed Black men that are being killed. I mean, it just goes on and on. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's me giving back to the community and being the sort of change agent. I want to change our way of engaging with one another. I want to use art as a form of diplomacy. That's why I'm in the state of urgency right now. I don't know, I just feel so unsettled. I'm doing what I'm doing, but I'm not sure if it's happening fast enough.